Wasted opportunities, big chances missed. A striker is very much needed in January. Welcome back to Where the Town Walk with myself, Luke, and today we've got Ian and Rich talking all things Ipswich, including this week's A to Z. Rich, a really, really frustrating game.
Yeah, look, obviously you have your 2-week international break and people miss the football, and then you go back and obviously, look, we won 4-1 in the last game before the break at Swansea, and we're all going in positive, Luke. And I thought for the first 10 minutes, I thought the game was quite open. I thought this could be quite a good game of football. After that, it sort of gradually went downhill. We huffed and puffed. The weather was miserable. It was cold. The game didn't do a lot to warm us up. And in the end, look, it's a disappointing point. I think sometimes you just have to take your medicine, take it on the chin and say, you're not going to win every game. I know we're frustrated coming out the ground. People say Wrexham came with a game plan, which they did, and I think that's going to be a theme when teams come to Portman Road. We've seen teams like Watford when they come, Luke, they sit in, they sit deep, they get men behind the ball. They're going back to Wales with a point and they're happy. And it's up to Town to find a way to break that down. For me, you've got to score early goals. Score a goal in the first half, open the game up, and it totally changes. And we don't do that. And then as the game goes on, it becomes more difficult. The crowd were a little bit on edge. And, in the end, we didn't get that goal that we all wanted.
Yeah. I agree. I think in terms of, though, the team, Wrexham coming and doing a job, I'm not going to say they didn't. They did, obviously. They got their draw and they're happy with it. But we had it wasn't like a case of that we just couldn't break them down. We had so many chances. They were giving away possession all the time, especially in the second half in the midfield area, where then I think there was one where Akpom was running through and he should have slid Ivan Azon in, and I don't know why he didn't. He gets his shot blocked in the end, and there were so many opportunities to score. Sometimes you go away from the game and go, listen, I think it was like the Preston away where we lost 1-0 at the beginning of the season. You went to that game and it was like, well, yeah, we didn't create that. We couldn't get through them. We just couldn't get through them. Obviously, we were, Anthem at that time. It was difficult, but yeah, it was a frustrating watch, wasn't it, Ian?
Yeah, it was. And like I say, like Rich said, people are going to come away from that walking home in the rain feeling really, really gutted. I mean, and when you look at other results around us, we're lucky again. Teams above us, exception of Coventry, are dropping points. To think that poor performance Saturday with regards finishing, yet we're still, win a game in hand and we get a good result on Tuesday and we're in the top 3. It's beggars belief how we've managed to get away with that, because really, with a team failing to score as frequently as we have over the last 6 games, notwithstanding the 2-4-1 away wins, which seem a bit of an anomaly now. But, if you don't start putting the goals away at home, you're going to struggle. And, it was frustrating. But I am always looking at the positives. And I think what was really great to see, one facet of our game which has really improved, and that was a clean sheet. And I think in previous games, with a corner in the last 5 minutes, you just thought, Wrexham are going to come here, 1 shot on target, 1 goal. It didn't happen. I think Walton had a really good command of his box throughout that game. He's had changes in that left side of the centre-backs between Greaves and Kipre. So he's had to deal with that. But I think, his command of the box was really good. And O'Shea, having been probably buoyed by the fact that he kind of had Ronaldo in his pocket for a whole game last week, he seemed a different player to me, and I think he well deserved his man of the match award.
Yeah, I agree. I think O'Shea was the best player on the pitch. So I think his passing was a lot better as well. He sprayed some beautiful diagonal balls in the over to Jaden on that side. So yeah, I think O'Shea was definitely one of the highlights from the game. I think we're gonna have to discuss it again. I say this quite a bit. Like we don't like calling players out individually. We're together. We are a team, but we have to call it how we see it. And Rich, there's some players that are just not performing. I mean, I know we both share an opinion that Akpom is not a number 10, and I really think yesterday's game showed that in abundance.
I got quite a bit of stick on Twitter when we signed him, Luke. People were telling me he was a 10 at Borough. Go back, if you haven't seen all of his goals at Borough, he scores all of his goals in the penalty box. He's playing probably as a second striker, maybe a little bit deeper behind, I think Cameron Archer was there. Whereas for Town, he's picking the ball up 50, 60 yards from goal. Sometimes it takes him 2 or 3 touches to get that ball under control. Look, he's obviously low in confidence at the minute. And you see there was a couple there in the second half, wasn't there? One where it ricochets through. On another day, if you're scoring goals that falls to your feet, you just tap it in the goal. Then the other one where they've given the ball away and he breaks, like you say, and he should pass it. It's little things like that. But for me, he doesn't look like a natural. What I see is a number 10, someone who dictates play, gets on the ball, drops in like a Chaplin, like a Nunes. I don't even think Nunes really, Luke, is what McKenna thinks of a number 10 because I don't think he's really signed him to play in that role. He had to play in there, obviously, because we got injuries with Smodics and Akpom was injured. So he sort of stumbled on that a little bit. But, yeah, Akpom at the minute, it's not working out. He's got, no goals, no assists. Yeah, what I see so far is a player that looks so far off it from the player that was at Middlesbrough. I'd love to have a conversation. Was he on the dashboard? It looks like he was going to Birmingham, then all of a sudden out the blue, Town signed him. But at the minute, he just doesn't look a comfortable fit in that position. I think that's a key position for how we play over the last 2 or 3 years coming up. Chaplin was in there. You know, you'd have that one where you take a throw in, wouldn't you? And Chaplin just literally spin it left-footed, first time over to Leif Davis. Little things like that we haven't got at the minute. And we're probably going to come on to Connor Chaplin and probably January. But doesn't fit. Smodics is another one, Luke, who doesn't fit a 10. For me, Sammy Smodics, when he scored all them goals at Blackburn, he'd have minimal touches of the ball, you know, because he was in that 18-yard box and he'd score. I don't want them type of players trying to dictate play because it looks alien to me what they're trying to do. But listen, Kieran McKenna's the manager. He knows more about football than everyone who's probably watching this podcast. So we just have to trust him, don't we?
Yeah. I agree. I think it is, and again, we never question McKenna. It's fine. He does his thing, and he's obviously the guy that. But we are allowed to have our opinions. I think it's a confusing one because we had so much success with a certain type of number 10. A certain type of number 10 in Chappers who does like to link play, etc. So it is a confusing one why he thinks Akpom and Schmodics and that type of 10 is going to be more beneficial for us. It is a question, and you are right. I got told a lot as well. Akpom, you know, he scored all them goals from a number 10 position, but not every number 10 position is the same. You have certain number 10s that are actually running behind, like Schmodics, if they're playing in a counter-attacking sort of team. You have players like Chaplin and other players who Windass, who obviously was for Wrexham on Saturday, who like to sort of collect the ball and dictate play that way. So a number 10 isn't, the same in every team. It depends how you play them. You can touch on that as well, Ian, but also I want to throw Casey McAteer. He's someone, again, I want him to come good, but he's struggling, and what a miss that was on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, just touching quickly back on Akpom, what I noticed when he first started playing with us, he was actually pushing quite a way upfield. Yeah, he was literally sat on the shoulder of Hurst, which was a position he's probably much more comfortable with. And like Rich said, at Middlesbrough, he was really playing a number 9. What I've noticed against Wrexham, he was playing much deeper, which the problem I have is when you play the number 10 quite deep like that, like Chaplin, you've got to distribute the ball really, really quickly. To break these teams down. They've got a very flat back four, and he wasn't doing that. And then the times he was playing quite close to Azon, he had 3 Wrexham defenders on him because Wrexham were defending with 10 people in their own half. So, I mean, I don't want to be too heavy on Akpom because I think that he was getting absolutely bad. Every time he got the ball, 2 players on him straight away. And again, as a striker, you're not used to distributing because when you get the ball as a striker, you're looking to score. So, yeah, I think McKenna needs to look at what he's going to, how you're going to play that guy. You're either going to bring him back into the Chaplin area and ask him to deliver quicker balls, or you're going to push him up front. I mean, there was probably an argument that he starts instead of Hurst if you wanted to rest Hurst because Azon maybe still needs time to get used to the English game. But yeah, I mean, Casey McAteer again, I think is a great player. I quite like some of the skills he's got, but it's one of these players where you can't keep saying, well, a goal will come, because we don't have that time come the end of the December. We need goals now. And that will be asked of a number of players. Like we said, I think a couple of weeks back, not enough goals coming from midfield in this team. and we can't just rely on one or two outlets at this level. You look at teams like Coventry; they've got goals coming from everywhere, and we need to be doing that as well.
I'm going to chuck it back to you, Ian, because there's just something you said at the start, which I want to ask you about. You said about obviously what McKenna will do with Akpom whether he will ask him to drop a bit deep, play that sort of role. Do you think he can do it? Do you think Akpom can play that sort of chaplain 10 role?
I am thinking that in McKenna's head, although we all like chappers, but I think he's thinking he needs a much more stronger physical presence at the number 10 position. Somebody who can also push up front and play alongside Hurst where we need to get those goals. So from what McKenna sees in training, it's probably different from what happens on the pitch. I mean, Akpom's a very strong player, but he was getting absolutely mauled on Saturday. And what he should have done at that point is look at one-touch passes. But it doesn't have that working relationship yet with the left and right wing. The ability from chappers who can just hit it, like you said, first time. I think Egley's got that. I've seen it from Egley. And we've been relying too heavily on that kind of pass having to come from O'Shea. We need it to come from the middle of the park, not always rely on it coming from the back. And when you look at other players trying to commit those passes, they're not as good as Chaplin was. Yeah, they're getting intercepted 50-50 balls. So, I mean, McKenna obviously has faith in him. I think that's what he's looking at. Someone who's got the physical presence in the middle of the field to maybe give us the space at the width. But, I mean, it goes hand in hand with what I believe is a compromise. We've compromised what we had in Leif Davis to facilitate Jayden Philogene. And therefore, it doesn't matter what the number 10 does, because if he does get the ball out wide quick enough, Davis won't be out there because he's had to play this inverted fullback and Jayden's got the ball wide. So there's different systems being operated at the moment that just not working together. It might not just be individuals, it could be just the different systems within the team.
Can I quickly come in there? I think eventually Egley will be the 10 in this team.
I can see that.
Yeah, well, that's what he said, wasn't it?
Because I think when you look at when Amari came in, he obviously bedded him on that right-hand side, didn't he? And he's a young player, Egley. He's just coming in. You're going to just get him into the team there. And then Hutchinson moved into the 10, sort of the second part of that season, anyway, when we got promoted, and in the Premier League. So I think eventually, Luke, I think that's where I see him probably playing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, because I think McKenna prefers more your Wes Burns, your Casey McAteers, your Ogbenes in that right wing position, someone who's going to purely get in behind, etc. So, which then brings us on to, I want to ask you, mate, Rich, as well, about Casey McAteer. Do you see him being our start? Say again, he does move into the 10 role eventually. Do you see McAteer being our right winger, or does he have it? Will he come good?
Look, he didn't put the price tag on him. That's one thing that we need to sort of. You need to be fair to people, but when you come with a 12 million price tag, like reportedly, people are going to expect, aren't they? I still find it a little bit of a strange signing, Luke, when you had a Bonnet in the building. You needed a striker. You could have put that money into that sort of position. And he's low on confidence. Look, you don't know these people. They have to move house. You're meeting different people. It takes different people longer to settle in. Like any person going into a new job. They're not robots, and we have to maybe just give him a little bit of time. The chance, though, Luke. I mean, if you said to me, there you are, 3 yards out, and the goalkeeper saves it, I would say, fair enough, you've hit the target. But to not hit the target from there, and it just about...
We go for a throw.
Yeah, it summed up his time at Town so far.
Yep.
And he could have been the hero there yesterday. I think it was his birthday.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
He's come on. I think the first thing he done was he was offside, and I thought, well, that's not a great start. But look, we all hope whoever plays for Town, nobody wants anybody to fail and play poorly. And at the minute, he is struggling. I think we have to admit that he is struggling. But Philogene struggled when he came in to start with. Jack Clark struggled when he came to Town to start with. So he needs a goal, or he needs something like an assist, something that people will think, yeah, look, he's done well there. And at the minute, it's a struggle, but hopefully it might come on Tuesday. You don't know. Yeah, true. And having a certain style with number 10 also might help him. So, which we will touch on at the end of the show. Bring Chappers back, come on. Right. So let's get into the question that I asked at the start. Do we need a striker in January? Because I know we were talking about the 10 there, and we were talking about the winger, etc. But at the end of the day, we need to score goals, and I think the 5-0 win and the
the 4-1s, the 2-4-1s away, have kind of sort of glossed over the fact that we are struggling to score goals. I mean, especially at home, which is very much unlike us. Do we expect a striker to walk through the door in January, Ian?
Do we expect one? If I'm honest, I'm not sure we will. Do we have the squad size? Do we have the space in the squad for a striker? I think you might see maybe a loan terminated or Akpom. I don't know. What strikers are out there? That's the other one. Who would be available? I don't think we get Josh Sargent. I think Norwich have learned the lesson from the Nunes saga. And what strikers? What we want is a ready-made striker, and we could hope. We could have some kind of distant, faded hope that maybe Liam Delap came back to us on loan. But he started at the weekend, so I don't know if that's an option. But that's what we really probably look at. If I'm honest, I think we're maybe looking at a lone striker coming in, unless there's somebody out there that our recruitment network have picked up that I haven't, who's kind of ready to go. And that's what we need. We need someone ready to go. We don't have any bedding in time in January to hit the ground running. Yeah.
I think there's a few players that obviously we could look to offload to free up a space. I mean, Cameron Humphreys, he's one that could be moved.
Or Elkin Baggett hasn't even started yet, has he? So,
so there's a few, isn't there, that we could just look to loan out just to create some space in there. What do you think, Rich? I mean, do we need? So it might not be expected, but do we need a striker come January?
I think we've needed a striker since the start of the season. I mean, we knew Liam Delap was leaving in probably February. Look, for all his hard work and that, look, I don't think he's good enough personally. I think you've got a striker there who played, what did he play in the Spanish second division? You've signed him on loan. I don't think he's going to score a great deal of goals. He's not the only one. We're lacking goals other than like your Jack Clarks and your Philogines. You've had no goals from Egerle, hasn't scored yet. Your number 10s haven't scored. So everyone over the pitch, like Ian said, needs to help out. You look at Coventry, like Ian said, they're all scoring goals. We all need to step up and help, but I think it's a glaring. I think some of our transfers have been really poor. I honestly do. I don't think that we've done great in the window. I agree with Ian. It probably will be a lone player. I'm not sure who, but it's someone who's going to come in like a Kiefer Moore when he came in last time. We need someone who knows the division. We haven't got time to, like Ian said, bed anybody in. They need to come in and hit the ground running. And no, I don't really know who's out there, who's available. I think there's a lack of number 9s because teams only play one striker now, don't they? So I think there's a real dearth of top quality number 9s about. But we've had long enough to find somebody, and it's up to Ashton and the transfer people to get that person in the building because we are struggling to score goals at the minute. And then I still think we're struggling to create chances. I don't think we create loads of chances. I mean, I would be looking at a striker and a number 10.
Yeah.
But then there's one playing at Portsmouth who we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So there you go.
think you made a good point though about also goals from elsewhere. You look at the promotion season, we had goals from all over the place, didn't we? And especially I think from the central midfield positions. I mean, Mass and Morsey loved having a shot from 20. I mean, how many goals did Morsey score? And I remember the ones against Leicester, took a deflection, but he's having a shot. You don't know what's going to happen. The keeper might parry it, all these different things. But I think we're very reluctant to have a shot. I mean, we know Jack Taylor can score from distance. Why is he? There was a few times on Saturday where he's constantly trying to look to play Jaden. Jaden seemed like the only guy in the first half that was allowed to shoot. It was like one of them training sessions, Ian, where it was like, right, we have to try and just get the ball to this guy, and he's the only one that's allowed to shoot. It was like, no, we can have other players that can take a shot, and it was a little bit frustrating to see. So I think we need to get goals from elsewhere. Matasiwa, I don't think is going to be the guy to do that, but maybe a Jack Taylor or a Kayusta or a Nunes can start taking a few more efforts and see what happens. Right, we are now on to obviously a double game week, so they come thick and fast in the Championship, and it's 2 away games, which obviously then actually does make 3 away games with the game the following weeks, which is tough, especially one on a Tuesday night and a Friday night that we've got coming up. Ian, we'll throw the whole game to you, please, mate. What do you expect from the game, and what is your score predictions?
So I think Hull is going to be interesting because we talk about strikers. There was one available, and we didn't look at him. Ollie McBurney. I know he's injured at the moment, but he came into the championship and started scoring from day one. That was being a player. I think there'd be a lot more open game on the road. Home team expected to be more attacking. That would give us that space for maybe whoever's going to be the number 10, give him a little bit more space. Not a great place to go in an evening, which probably going to be damp as well. Followed by Oxford. Let's hope it's not foggy like last time. It's this whole thing about tinkering with the squad as well. I mean, everybody complains there's too many changes, but when you've got 3 games in 9 days, you're going to have to make changes, and we're going to have to rotate. I'm hoping that the players who are away from international duty are fully fit. Probably expect to see Hurst obviously start against Hull with Nunes in that number 10, unless there's a change of heart there. Potentially Wes Burns on the bench for one of those 2 games as well. That'll give us a bit of competition down that right-hand side. Might see McAteer maybe pull his socks up a little bit. Hull are a really inconsistent team. I mean, like I say, they lost at QPR on Saturday and we've humped them 4-1. So I'm really not sure which way that's going to go against Hull. I'd like to think that we could go in there with maybe a 1-0 away win and then build on that at Oxford the following weekend. But again, they had a cracking result against Middlesbrough. And as we saw on that foggy day a couple of years ago, Oxford on their day can be a real thorn in the side. So I expect Oxford game to be very much like them playing like the away team, and a very similar setup to Wrexham. So I think between now and then, Kieran's got to really work on how do you break down teams that defend with 10 players. If we can manage to come up with a couple of, wrinkles there, then I think that we could maybe get 2 results on the road, give us 6 points, much needed, and then the infamous Blackburn game after that.
So for the whole game, what is your scoreline? What are you going to give us?
Let's go 1-0 Tuesday, followed by a 2-0 away at Oxford. Okay. And then Blackburn as well.
2 clean sheets? I would definitely.
Yeah, I'll go 2 clean sheets, and I think Blackburn's going to be a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Rich, what are we thinking from the whole Oxford game? Are we expecting to try and get 6 points?
We'd love a sort of type of game that last time we were at Hull. That was a great game, man. It's one of my favourite games of the promotion season. I know it was 3-3, and we were all a little bit disappointed that night. I remember when McKenna and them came over, and you're thinking maybe we let an opportunity go here because we were leading till late, weren't we? And then they nicked a goal. I think there's been 55 goals, Luke, in Hull's 16 games. So they've scored 28, conceded 27. So They're pretty open, score a lot of goals. I agree with Ian. I think it might help us playing away. Being the away side, we get a little bit more space, especially at Hull, because I think they'll attack us. I'll go 2-1 to Town.
Okay. I'm trying to think whether each week we make these predictions and we seem I think we are a fairly optimistic bunch, us three. I do think that we do like to think, and it's just like how many times we're going to come back and go, I'm frustrated again. I think we need to get that again, I call it all the time, but a statement week to go, right, 6 points, 2 good performances, and really sort of build on. We'll we shall see. Right, now we're on to our A to Z feature. So we got we're on to the letter G. Ian, if you can kick us off, please, mate. What was your letter G for?
Yeah, I had a couple of foreign players. He never really kind of did a great deal. One of those would be Boncho Guenche. I mean, a really great song, didn't it? Boncho song. But for me, I'm going to be picking on one again. He had a fantastic season in La Liga, then a not so good season, and then we bought him for what, £300 million. That would be Finidi George. The double denim Finidi George. And he never really produced the goods. He was only with us for about, I think, 16 months in the end. But he was the first Ipswich player to score an overhead kick at Tottenham before Sammy Smodics. And I think he promised a lot. And I think it was in that era when we were in the Premiership, we were splashing cash like it was going out of fashion. With Matteo Serini and other players coming in. So, yeah, I mean, Finidi George always stands out as one of the players of that period, which really, when the club, I think it's probably the start of the decline, wasn't it, for about 5 or 6 years after that. But yeah, Finidi George.
Yeah, like it. Rich, what was your letter G, please, mate?
So this is from the East Anglian Daily Times. On this day, April the 14th, 1996, Ipswich beat rivals Norwich 2-1 at Portman Road, with the winning goal becoming a moment that will never be forgotten by either side. So we go back It's the last minute, isn't it, Ian? And Robert Ullathorne rolls a gentle back pass to Brian Gunn. So he's my G. And it takes a lovely bounce off a divot, lovely air kick. And I remember Scully running away. And we spoke before we come on. And Ian said about Robert Ullathorne's face. And it's like he's calling for his mum, isn't he? Because he wonders what the hell's just happened. And Brian Gunn's down on one knee. I remember that. I was in the North Stand, Luke, and we come running on the pitch behind the goal. We had a pitch invasion after the game. That's when you could come on and we taunted the Norwich fans. But yeah, Brian Gunn, he's a lovely guy, Brian Gunn. I think he's a top guy, but he will always go down as the air kick at Portman Road. It's great. If you haven't seen it, anybody, it's on YouTube. Go and check it out.
Definitely worth a watch.
I was 3 months old at that time, but I have seen clips, so don't worry. I have seen clips of it. Right, we're now on to tweet of the week, which I think we have been alluding to throughout the show, and it is one that I feel like we all here definitely agree with, and it is bring Chaplin back in January. Ian, let's get him back, shall we? Let's bring him back.
Do you know, you look at the problem, right? Before you sit around the table as a scout and you say, right, what's the problem? You know, what do we need? What's the player we're looking for? You know, you want vision, you want quick passing, you want relationships, understanding how the club works. And on the Ipswich side of that, which is, you know, if you want to play for Ipswich, you need to know that it's the badge before everything. It's the club before everything, the fans before everything. I mean, we've got an answer right there. You know, Connor Chaplin. I mean, people are scratching their heads when Connor went to Portsmouth on loan. It's like, well, hang on. Yeah, and then bringing in some unknowns. And again, I've nothing against Akpom at all, because I think he's quite a decent footballer. But we had the answer in our squad and we let him go. And if I look and touch on our set pieces, for example, how many times was he effective from corners? You know, beating people in the air. He might not be the tallest player, but he's got the heart of a lion. And I've never seen anybody just literally, from the moment he's on that grass, he gives his 110% every single game. And that's what we need. We need players like him. Because I think against Wrexham, he would have been the difference. You know, he would love to play with the likes of Philogene on the left and Egley on the right, because when he was playing in that position, yeah, we would be looking for Leif Davis, for example. But I think Chappers looks at those thinking, oh, I wish I could go back. So it may be part of a bigger plan why he went to Pompey. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a kind of square peg in a square hole. Why not?
Yeah. I think you're right though. Maybe it will come to fruition. Wes Burns comes back fit. We bring Chaplin back. They, you know, reignite their brilliant chemistry, and maybe
Freddie Ladapo on loan.
Yeah. let's get the band back together. No, I think you're right. I'd love to see Chaplin back. What do you think, Rich? I'm sure you're all for it as well, mate.
Yeah, look, it was a weird one when he went, because he played on that Saturday, didn't he? In the I can't remember who he played, but he played on the Saturday. I think it was Derby when he played, and then
he started. I think.
Yeah, he started it, and then it was on that Sunday, and then he went on the Monday. Look, no one knows what goes on beyond closed doors. You know, politics. And you remember Wolfenden coming out with that one when he was interviewed a few weeks back, when he was at Cov. Are we being sentimental, Luke? You know, are we thinking, yeah, get him back and Wes back on the right and it all falls back into place? I personally wouldn't have let him go, because I think he knows the club. I think he would have been a great person to have around for Egley. You know, young player coming in, new country. I think he would have helped him. And I think he's a great footballer in this division. Maybe Premier League, you know, Chaplin, he was not quite good enough. He had an injury. But I thought dropping back to the Championship, Connor Chaplin last time here, he got 13 goals. It's not worked out for him at Portsmouth, has it? I was looking yesterday. I think he came on for the final 10 minutes. For them, he hasn't scored a goal. Is there a recall clause in January? I think there was, but I don't think he comes back. I would have him back, but
yeah,
football managers, they're very stubborn. And when I listened to McKenna's comments yesterday about Akpom, oh yeah, it's nearly coming off, I'm thinking, well, you've put your neck on the line. You know, you've signed him. You know, he's coming in. They're not just going to suddenly bin him off, I don't think. So would I like Chaplin back? Yes. Do I think he comes back? No.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I think we may be, you know, really hoping so. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, the interesting thing is, you know, not always you have obviously recall options in the loan deals. We put one in for a reason, so it makes you think that maybe McKenna's thinking thinking about getting him back in, depending on our, the state of our number 10 situations, etc. But we shall see. I'm really hopeful, boys, for a positive week. We get 6 points. We're sitting pretty, and it's a little bit more positive. It seems like we start getting going, and then something will happen. We'll just get going, and something will happen. So yeah, I'm trying to hope that we'll have a little bit more consistency, and we'll go ahead. I mean, we didn't lose, and we are still following that unbeaten trade. So yeah, it's still good. We're gonna have a positive week. Thank you very much, boys, for a great chat as always. Thank you everybody for watching at home. Please like and subscribe, and please get involved in the comments below.